Today I'm going to show you how to change out a Shimano style Freehub on my Cannondale fat bike. I'll include the symptoms of a stripped or blown Freehub along with ways to prevent it from happening again. This is not a paid advertisement. Please use discretion, and if you try this at home, do it at your own risk. If you saw my last two videos, you know that there's been a storm cloud, or as I called it, my guardian devil, that has been causing me grief on my bike rides. If you haven't seen these videos, you might want to check them out. I'll leave a link in the description or look them up on my channel page. Oh, could you please do me a favor? Click the thumbs up if you like this video. My Santa Cruz Tallboy was down for the count, waiting for parts to arrive, and I had my riding addiction to feed, so I took my fat bike for a quick spin on my trails. I stopped to pick up a branch that fell across the trail and then tried to start out on a steep bank. With all of my weight on the pedal, I heard this really loud clunk similar to the sound of a chain breaking. This definitely ain't good. So here's the symptoms of a blown Freehub. The cassette spins when you pedal, but the bike just won't go. I need to get back home, so I'm going to need to push. Or do I? My house is roughly 3 miles from where my bike broke down, so instead of using one of my phone a friends, I figured that I would develop some of my bike's scooting skills. This included the side stroke and the inverted radial smoothie to switch out the pushing leg. I was also able to coast down hills riding side saddle, and occasionally the pieces inside the Freehub would engage enough so that I could pedal the bike if there was absolutely no incline.
Boy, does that sound bad.
Okay, enough nonsense. I got the back wheel on the bench, so let's change out the freewheel hub. To do this, aside from the very basic tools, you'll need cassette pliers or a chain whip, a cassette removal tool, which comes in different variations for different prices, and for this bike, a 12mm Allen wrench. You may or may not need the Allen wrench for your bike, but most metric sets don't include this size. I got mine on Amazon, which I'll include the links for all of these tools in the description below. For those of you who don't know what the cassette pliers or chain whip is for, you only need them to remove the cassette because of the ratcheting design of the Freehub. Just grab one of the cog wheels on the cassette to keep it from turning, insert the freewheel hub removal tool, and turn counterclockwise to loosen. These can be pretty tight at times, so make sure that you insert it deep and not crooked, or you can break your cassette removal tool. Unfortunately, experience speaks here. You will usually feel bumps on the first turn out because they are dimpled and spring-loaded to keep them from coming loose. When you loosen the retaining nut all the way, the cassette will lift right off. Most Shimano cassettes come off in many pieces, but don't be alarmed. I personally like this feature because it allows for easy cleaning, which we will do before reassembly. And this is the freewheel hub, which is causing us problems. It should only spin one direction, but as you can see, this one goes both ways, which is wrong. This one is toast. Next, we're going to flip the wheel over, and I'm going to switch over to the microphone on the camera, so bear with me because I'm not used to working without a script, but I'll do my best to explain this to you as I go.
So this spacer kind of acts as a dust cap. There's nothing really holding it in other than the O-ring against the axle itself. So we're going to take a tiny flat screwdriver and go in along the edge of it here, and we're not pulling a nail out, we're not pulling a stump or anything like that. We're just going to go real gentle. I mean, like real gentle. You don't want to damage the edge on that or anything, and just kind of pull up with your hand while you're popping it off, and see, it came off real easy. And that exposes that 12mm Allen head thing in here. So I got a 12mm Allen wrench here, and you just stick it inside that axle. On the opposite side, just above the freewheel hub, you'll see these flats on here. I have a 17mm cone wrench. I'm going to use that to hold the other side. Now I hope this stays in focus for you. I am going to put my 12mm in as I showed you just a minute ago, and on this side I'm going to take my 17mm cone wrench. You can use a crescent wrench too, and we're just going to spin that baby off. And you're going to have this little cap exposed. And your freewheel hub should just pull straight out. Alright, for the sake of clarity, and because I care, I reinserted the freewheel hub, and I'll show you how this all works again. So you have this piece here. It just threads on there to the, basically you're holding the entire axle with the 12mm on the opposite side. And that just pulls off. And here's what breaks on them most of the time. If I can get it to come into focus here. See these are called pawls. And this is a 3-pawl hub, 1, 2, 3. And that's what makes your bike freewheel. If you look down inside, you can see that there's an internal gear. And that's what these pawls engage to, and that's basically how your bike works. Now on here you can see that says FH502. I think FH is the formula hub, but that 502 number is kind of critical to have when you're ordering. This wear here is pretty common. That's from your cassettes. Yeah, the cogs on your cassette actually engage to that. And I like this better than an XD driver because you have way more points of engagement. The XD driver engages to your granny gears, and then it's all riveted together going down. What drives your high-speed gears is actually the rivets, which in my opinion isn't that great of a design. Everybody seems to like XD, but if you put XD on a cassette, the cassettes cost outrageous amounts of money. I personally like Shimano HG drivers. It's just my personal taste. Now you're gonna have to remember how this all goes together. So there's one more spacer that goes down inside, and that's remember that it has a tapered edge on the top. That's important. I'm trying to get a magnet in there to clean some of the pieces out. That's not going to work, so I'm going to take my magnet and I'm going to magnetize this screwdriver. Just stroke the end of it a little bit. Now we can stick it down inside, and there's another one of our pawls that broke off. Got to get all those pieces out of the inside. And it looks pretty good. I'm going to hit it with a little degreaser. Any kind will work. Stick a paper towel down in and try to get all the grease out of there, get everything cleaned up inside. Make sure that when you clean it out that you inspect everything in there for any pieces of debris that could be down in there, chunks of old pawl that broke off. I'm going to take a pick, just a regular pick, and I'm going to kind of go up all the teeth of that gear and make sure that there's no pieces of metal that are stuck to grease in there or anything like that. Any metal that's in there could cause major problems. This doesn't look too bad right now. I'm going to take my little spacer insert, make sure that the tapered side's up, and I'm going to make sure it's back in place before we forget about it. Now at Dirt Fest, I asked the Shimano rep, like, what does he actually use to lubricate a freewheel hub? And he told me to use the mineral oil, and this is actually the hydraulic brake mineral oil, but he said that that would be okay to use in it. So I'm just going to take, it's in this nice squirt applicator, I'm just going to put a little bit on the gears in the axle. You're not going to want to use grease on your freewheel hub pawls because they could hang up. You know, grease is thick. This mineral oil is kind of nice and thin. I'm just applying it to the gear teeth and along the axle shaft. Little bit goes a long way. If you don't have the Shimano mineral oil, I would imagine that anything from a drugstore, baby oil, Seth from Seth's Bike Hacks actually used the baby oil for in his hydraulic disc brakes, and he used them for over a year. They seem to work fine from it. And when you take your cassette off, it always pays to take advantage of the opportunity to hit it with a little bit of degreaser and scrub out all the goop from them. It just makes your shifting a whole lot better. I'm using a water-soluble degreaser, so I'm just going to rinse them out in the sink when I'm done. Some of these are riveted together, some aren't. These spacers are all the same that go between them. And this is the other thing that I really like about the Shimano setup, is that you can actually take these all apart and clean all this little junk in between. That XD type cassette is like, it looks beautiful inside. It's all open, it's lightweight and everything, but I just don't like the fact that you can't get deep inside of it and clean it as easy. Alright, we got it all cleaned up. This is one of the few times that I actually get lucky and I have the spare parts that I need. This came from Cannondale. Your bike may have a different model of freewheel hubs, so I wouldn't use that, you know, and expect that to fit yours. If yours has formula hubs, maybe there's a good chance that it would, but there's your brand new Freehub. See, that's what a freewheel hub's supposed to look like. We're going to take a brand new freewheel hub and you stick it down over that tapered spacer in there, and I always just kind of wiggle it and shake it back and forth and just keep working it around, and it'll eventually drop in. Sometimes you got to push the pawls back in, and there it goes. Make sure that there's no gap right there. Take your threaded spacer, and this is left-handed thread, so you tighten it counterclockwise. You're going to use the same trick with the your 12mm Allen wrench and your cone wrench on the opposite side. Just take your 17mm cone wrench, and I'm not going to, remember it's counterclockwise tightening. I'm not going to get crazy with it. I just give it kind of a little snug. I don't think there's a torque spec that I know of on it, but as you seen earlier, that thing was hardly on there, and that's not even an issue. There's nothing that can make it go loose in there. Now we're going to take our cassette, and you want to take your smallest spline that's right there by the part number.
When reassembling the cassette, remember on the Shimano style Freehub that there is one skinny spline that keeps everything in line. I always turn this toward me when I reassemble. You will notice that there are a few skinny spacers, usually made of plastic. These should be identical, so no worries if they get mixed up. Lastly, thread on the cassette lock ring, and this one says to torque it to 40 Newton meters. Other manufacturers may vary, and that was exactly 40 Newton meters. You can see that it definitely sounds healthier than it did when we started.
So we're going to flip our wheel back over now. We have our spacer from the opposite side. I'm going to give everything a wipe down real quick on the inside of this. There's a lot of dirt and junk that gets in here, but everything looked nice and dry. I'm not really worried too much. And just push her back on.
If you have any issues replacing your Freehubs, I do my best to answer all the comments, so don't hesitate to ask any questions if you run into a snag. Please click the thumbs up if you found this video helpful, comment below, and consider subscribing if you're new to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.